It's 9 o'clock on September 23rd. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on our agenda is to discuss how we want to handle public comment. Got considerable written public comment. So really the question is, how do you want to handle the public comment, from the room or from the Zoom? Our goal was to finish today with the final 3, potentially 5 sites that we would advance to the city commission. Anybody have thoughts on how to start? So we could sort of settle this in the first few minutes and then proceed.
In terms of the written public comment, I do believe that I've read all of them, including the ones that were added this morning. First of all, just to see, like by a show of hands, how many of us have read all of them, including those that were added this morning? Okay.
Not the one from this one, but the other ones.
So then that would only leave 2 that you hadn't seen yet. And then it seemed to me that it's possible to summarize them because there did seem to be quite a bit of overlap within those public comments. I don't know if Adam would be the one to summarize them, but I think that will keep an eye on the time if we could do that, since there was so much overlap among them.
How do you feel about that?
I started to put together a summary slide and stopped doing so. There was just a lot of nuance. I wanted to make sure things were fairly represented, which is why I just pivoted to post. I mean, I was going to post it all anyways, but I left out of the presentation a summary slide of the issues. There's some obvious things that rise to the top that I heard over and over again. I'm sure you all saw as well. So, I mean, I can try to characterize that. You can.
So
stop.
It sounds like most of you have read through them. Are you wanting to take comments during the meeting, oral comments?
Yeah, we definitely want to do that.
Okay.
I'm wondering, do we want to respond to each person, or do we want to not respond at all, or
So
what will make people feel like they're
when we had the discussion about this earlier in our process, we suggested the idea of trying to follow the same protocol that the city commission would use would be kind of the best approach. And their protocol does not involve responding to any individual comments. It's just about listening, and not necessarily, trying to get into a back and forth with anyone about it. So I don't know if the group feels the same way now, but we're trying to be consistent. We might want to stick with that.
The interest of time that would be appropriate, and then also city commission usually says 3. I think I saw that in one of the try to keep to 3 minutes or less.
city commission city commission also has a longer time period to meet the meeting, about an hour to get through everything. I would be comfortable with like a minute maybe.
Yeah.
How about if someone's provided written comment, do you want to hear them speak as well, or do you want to prioritize people that haven't provided written comment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is it worth it to, I don't know, I'm uncomfortable. I told Emily I was kind of dreading this meeting today. Like there's a streak in some of these comments that we're getting that I don't know. Do we want to address that now?
I think that would probably be appropriate during the next section, but during the public comment, really it's about the public given an opportunity to address this group.
Okay.
One other consideration is, one of the benefits of having a group like this is it provides an opportunity for people to essentially weigh in on this before it becomes more consequential at the next level. So if someone has something to say today, they might say the same thing when it goes to the city commission. Tentatively, it looks like October 8th. So this gives an opportunity for people to speak about their thoughts that they might then sharpen up their thoughts when they get to the city commission. Also helps to prepare the city commission for what might come their way.
Yeah.
So, and a reminder that we keep it relevant to the scope of what we're doing.
Yeah, I hope that's not a problem
Let's not
today.
spend a lot of time debating whether or not there should be a bus system and what kind of people ride the bus. Let's talk about what is relevant here.
Just,
I think we should follow the same guidelines all the way down the line as the city commission has, with the 3 minutes and then no comment about that,
okay,
about those comments, but give people 3 minutes. 1 minute just isn't very much at all.
okay. Any other thoughts?
I think that really depends on how many people actually want to speak. So maybe what we need to do is ask how many people want to speak, because if we take that times 3, then that could be our entire meeting and then we're done and we can't get anywhere today. So
We could ask the group. So
We do that?
is anyone here that didn't put in written comment? Anybody that wants to speak but didn't put in a written comment?
I put in a written comment, but I have some questions that I thought of last night, so mine isn't really comment. It's questions that I know you can't respond directly to me, but to take them as consideration.
Okay, so for those that didn't put in any written comment, this might be your only time to make a public comment. I just get your show of hands again.
I'll make a quick comment. You want?
Not at this moment. We're still trying to decide how we're gonna handle public comment. But just wanted to get a sense. Sounds like there's only a sure that anybody online that would want to do a public comment.
I've only seen one comment come through from Jenny that said just wants to observe. I'm not
Okay.
sure if any others. I see Kyle with a hand raised.
So, given so Hazlet, what we discussed before you got in was everyone has read through the written public comments. And so if we're gonna prioritize public comment for those that didn't submit written public comment, this would be a chance to do that. I don't think I'm hearing consensus around how many minutes. Any,
I'm fine with 3, so it's like there's only 2 people.
all right. And do we want to ask for any other comments in any other period of public commenting? Like the city commission will usually provide it as every agenda item advances. How do you guys want to handle that?
They are commenting on the agenda item.
I know that's a little different, so,
So I'd say because we will hear and consider their comments as part of our discussion. So allow them to comment at the front part. We'll consider that as each of us as individuals on the end.
so hearing, make sure the public comments are done before your discussion. And the comments need to be germane to the agenda items. Any other thoughts? Okay, I think I got clear enough direction. What we'll do then is open it up for public comment and we'll give a 3-minute timer for each person that wants to speak. If you have comment, do they need to stand in a certain way to get heard by the microphones?
They pick up, we've tested these throughout the room. So it should be, unless you're talking really quiet, it should be heard just fine.
Do you want them to come into the table or are they gonna be able to speak and be heard?
Should be able to speak from your chair and that should be okay. Like we've tested the mics in the corners of the room, so we should
Alright,
be okay on audio.
You wanna start, just give us your name, where you're located.
Yeah, Hans Carter, 718 Indiana. So great communities provide an opportunity for the public to move freely. So I think the issue is not whether there should be public transport or not. There should be. That's what we should do. The issue, I think, is where do we put the downtown hub? Like, that's the most critical issue to me. As I read through public comments, the reason I did not submit one was because there were so many, and I thought that many of them were very articulate and they posed thoughtful challenges for this group to consider. You have a difficult decision to make. I just wanted, my public comment was less about my personal perspective, but the importance of this group to value the perspectives of everyone who is weighing in, whether it is verbal or written. And pleased to take that into consideration as you make this important decision that lies in front of you.
Thank you. Next. You, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Betsy Anderson and I live at the corner of 8th and Tennessee Street. And thank you all for letting us come and speak today. I really appreciate it. I just have a couple of questions that I didn't know if you had considered or information I might have that you may not be aware of. So the first one is, are you aware that the stormwater project is going to start in March of 2025. And I know you all are looking at a timeline. And so this project is going to be what I consider the big dig. It's going to be a 20-foot hole that's going to start at 8th and 10th, literally the corner of 8th and Tennessee Street. And it will stay in that vicinity for about, I think Nick Hoyt told me 6 months. So you're going to have this major construction going on at the time that I think you all were looking to launch your project. So I just thought that might be, I didn't know if you knew about that or not, so I thought I'd share that. And then another question I had was, what type of analysis are you going to use to determine any problems that could occur with putting the transit hub, for instance, the bank parking lot in conjunction with the emergency services that come out of the fire department? Because me being a pediatric nurse, one of the things I'm sensitive to is that seconds matter. And if that ambulance is trying to get through, and this is the typical pattern, because remember, I live at 8th and Tennessee Street, they come out of the firehouse, down 8th, down Tennessee. And so if there's a problem with a bus coming or going, those seconds could matter as to whether a life could be saved or not. So I think, I was wondering what type of analysis you do to assess that. And then thirdly, I wanted to know about the grant. It sounds like you've got a Tiger grant that's going to fund some of that. Did I understand that correctly? That's funding for this?
Different program.
Is it is it the Arrays grant?
No. Access, Innovation, and Collaboration is a federal money that flowed through the state. State created that program about 4 years ago.
Okay, so it's not either, because I think I saw a Tiger grant on some documentation that was presented yesterday.
Not either of those two grants.
So in conclusion, I know that you're gonna look at the safety issues around pedestrians, the use of the pool, the Century School, and all the pedestrians that live around, for instance, the parking lot, that bank parking lot. I know that you'll think about those and consider those. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Did you want to say something?
My name is this is my husband, Gary Samuelson. We live in 804 Kentucky. Been there since 1986, so we've seen a lot of change. Agree totally with that. We see
Kentucky.
every hour the emergency vehicles coming 50 feet across from our house on the north, in and out, down to 8th Street to go south. That's the only way south. So yes, please take those
Got up and got dressed.
vehicles.
I used to be at work 7:15 in the morning.
Sure, that's why we're here.
We're retired. We don't have to look at that.
Well, so are they.
Anybody else in the room that wanted to speak that didn't submit written comment?
Yeah.
All right. Anyone on Zoom that?
I saw Kyle earlier.
I would like to speak.
Hey, Phyllis, you didn't submit written comment, did you?
She did.
I did submit a written comment.
All right, we're trying to prioritize people that didn't submit written comment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
All the written comments, people have read through those.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Phyllis. Kyle, did you want to speak?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll read quickly. Hello, members of the Downtown Transit Station Steering Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. And thank you for all the work you've put into the process. My name is Kyle Johnson. I live at 705 Main, and I'm the Vice President of the Old West Lawrence Association. The following comments reflect the feelings of our board and a large volume of feedback received by our neighbors. I'll speak to you about concerns we have with sites numbers 1, 15, and 20, which are 7th and 8th Streets and the Central Bank parking lot off of 8th, all between Tennessee and Kentucky. To provide some context, Owl residents heavily use 7th and 8th Streets to walk and drive between Owl and downtown and cross Tennessee and Kentucky in the process. The first major concern is the reality of high-speed traffic on Tennessee and Kentucky streets between 6th and 9th. Old West Lawrence was chosen to pilot the city's neighborhood traffic management program. And in the last several years, traffic speeds and volumes are studied by JEO Consulting an independent firm hired by the city. Devices were placed throughout the neighborhood to objectively collect this data. JEO found that speeds on Tennessee regularly exceeded 50 miles an hour, and that the highest speed recorded during the observation period was 80. Of course, even without the data, residents of Owl know that crossing Tennessee at either 7th or 8th Street is dangerous, and you really need to be watching for high-speed traffic. If a bus hub is added, buses will slow considerably to turn off Tennessee into the hub, and cars will swerve around the buses to change lanes at high rates of speed. This will make an already tricky pedestrian crossing even more dangerous, and this scenario would play out dozens of times per day. Worse yet, the hub would naturally insert dozens more pedestrians into this risky environment. We think you may not quite realize the safety impact of adding hundreds of pedestrians and dozens of bus routes daily to this area. The second major concern is that the hub would move current unsafe behaviors into an area bracketed by a residential neighborhood, the public pool, a park, and a school. Here's an example of an email, or here's an excerpt of an email we received from an Owl resident who spent time reviewing police blotters and call logs for the area around 7th and Vermont, the current hub location. Quote, not a day went by when there were not several calls with obviously troubling designations, such as trespassing, battery theft, warrant service, criminal threat, fight with weapons, harassment, alcohol violation, and so on. Of course, the most notable recent incident was the fatal shooting that took place in March. Although the resident narrowed down their specific search to 7th and Vermont, these behaviors are associated with the downtown hub, likely spread out into the vicinity as well. So to be clear, this is not a not in my backyard kind of situation. I wouldn't want that in anyone's backyard. We're not anti-transit. There are numerous bus stops within our neighborhood and around the neighborhood, including 2 stops within 20 yards of my house, and a route that makes a big loop in the middle of Owl. So these routes add value to our neighborhood. Our recommendation to address safety concerns is to keep the hub downtown, out of any neighborhood, and staff it properly with professionals who can help reduce unsafe behaviors and provide services to members of the community who need assistance. So with that, again, thank you for hearing our concerns, which largely emanate around high-speed traffic, unsafe behaviors, and then the things that the other residents of Owl have mentioned.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online that did not submit public comment in written form who wants to speak now? Okay. I think we're ready then to, oh, did I see one more? Or was that just useful? Okay. All right, then. I think we've finished public comment. We can go to the next agenda item, which you want to see the site ranking discussion. So, Adam, it looks like you have slides that you wanted to go through.
I do. I'm trying to think. I might just look at a couple of timeline slides and maybe then ask where we want to head. When these were put together, we've obviously received a lot more comment and concerns from them. So I think it's valuable for you all to discuss through some of those things. So I think rather than spending the time going through each of the sites, I guess I'd like a little more guidance from you all if you're looking at timeline, or you want to take the discussion if that works. Okay. So you all have seen different versions of this timeline as we've been moving through the process. We're through those first couple of steps with the boundary and then looking at the site selection criteria that helped us evaluate all the sites. We had a large public comment period with people submitting site ideas and are evaluating those. Ideally, at the end of this meeting, we have some recommendations for City Commission. Show you the upcoming timeline, kind of what happens after this. So I've tried to provide some clarity. Well, I want to make sure we're all on the same page, but also members of the public. So this group is trying to get us to recommended 3 to 5 sites for concept design. It is not part of your scope to indicate a preferred site that will ultimately be studied by FTA through planning process and a NEPA process. So we need a top group to do the next concept work, but it is not your role to tell the city commission which one you think is number one, which one you think is number 5. So that's important to keep in mind. So if we're able to finish that work today, those 3 to 5 sites would go before city commission the 8th or possibly the 15th, might depend on how we are able to get documents together. If city commission moves forward 3 or 5 sites to concept, we then work with KDOT. They have a contractor who can help us put together still fairly simple, but more specific concept plans that show a little more specificity on how sites would be set up, and they'll help us update costing. That'll be a key part of this process, figuring out, moving towards a preferred site is understanding cost. With that information, we would go back before the city commission in November for a work session item. It would not be a meeting that they would vote, but we would have more specific concept plans. We'd have updated costs, and we'd be able to talk through their thoughts on which sites are looking like they could be more preferred and which might be more challenging. It would, of course, incorporate all the public feedback we've already heard. I'm sure we'd hear more, but we'd have a little more information for them to start thinking about what site they'd like to see us move into that preferred site. With that information, we complete another set of documents with KDOT. We have to get those scored by FTA and be on the same page with them about what our preferred site should be, and would then take that back to the city commission in December. So one of the meetings in December, there would be a city commission vote for, this is the preferred site. We're now gonna formally enter the NEPA process with FTA. That process takes in the neighborhood of a month. Hopefully there'd be no big issues that would arise of that, things underground or cultural resources or environmental things that we weren't aware of at whatever the preferred site would be. And then we formally enter the design process towards the beginning of next year. So all that to say, I know our timeline is short today. Couple of the things we're thinking about, we'll adjust to what we need to. If this group needs another meeting next month, we'll make that happen. I think we are concerned about trying to get our work done at least ahead of August 2026. That's when annual route changes will go into effect. But ideally, if we could get this done by May 26th, we'd be ahead of World Cup, a likely influx of visitors to our community. It'd be very nice to have a complete downtown hub to accept those new visitors. So those are just a couple of things we're thinking of. And if we can avoid a month delay, we'd like to. Of course, one of those things where you a month might not seem like much right now, but you look out 2 years and all of a sudden it's a tight time. So those are just some of the things we're thinking about. I did want to call attention to a note we looked at this last budget cycle at adding security personnel at the downtown station site. It's difficult to do right now, not necessarily budgetarily, but more so just the challenges of not having an indoor space for those folks to escape precipitation and heat and cold. We would want people out there most of the day. So just wanted that on the radar. A lot of comments came up surrounding safety. We've had discussions with the library about how their safety program works and the folks they have working, because those are not armed guards. They are employees of the library, and that's been pretty successful for them. So I think we're probably pointed towards a similar effort once we have a defined downtown station space and an ability to build those folks up an indoor place to be. So I just wanted that as part of the discussion that we're having.
the indoor space for the security personnel, is that going to change the space maps that we have for the sites?
It will. I don't have major concerns about fitting that in most of the sites that we've looked at that are still
There's like
running.
there were a few in the downtown area that were specifically, the notes on them are, this is kind of small, we're not gonna do that extra stuff here.
Yeah, so we'll have to take a closer look at that.
Can we do that as we move forward? I guess what we need to do first is gauge the room on, do we need another meeting?
Is that what you're trying to get to with this
Well, I'll
focus on the calendar?
Yeah, I'd love to see you guys, but we can see each other at the
Well,
city
what-
council meeting.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to bring up in terms of being expeditious is that, like, I have been reading all of the public comments as they come in, and as I said before, there is quite a bit of overlap. And so while I was trying to make my own notes about my preferences, like, I know that we can choose up to 5, is that correct?
Yeah.
And then coincidentally, there are 5 sites, as far as I can tell from all of the public comment that I've got, that remain uncontested.
Yeah,
And I could bring those up in front of the group here, just to double check my work and make sure.
I've
but-
done a similar thing. I think
Did you come up
most
with
of us probably.
that also? Yeah, so like, I think that if we wanted to get it done today, and if we focused on the least contested out of them, since there is so much overlap in the things that are upsetting people, like, we could focus our attention on the 5, because then we could say, look, nobody has a problem with it.
Yeah.
And then we could. They also, as a rider, those sites also look really good to me.
Will you make those 5?
I will.
So yeah, so we're all in agreement, we're not gonna do the extra meeting, right? Maybe we can check
Let's
back in
go
at
for
the
the
end
goal.
at the end of this one. Okay.
Yes.
So let's just
The
go.
5 to that, from what I read, and please, if anybody disagrees with this, let me know. But the 5 that's to me remain uncontested are site 025, which is city parking lot number 8 on the east side of the 800 block of New Hampshire. Site 018, which is the current bus transfer area, 700 block of Vermont. People, when they were giving written comments, said that they would like that to be improved and safety-fied. But yes. Site 026, which is city parking lot number 4 on the west side of the 800 block of New Hampshire. Site 028, city parking lot number 7 on the west side of the community building. And site number 005, city parking lot number 5 on the east side of the 900 block of Vermont.
Yeah, the 3 that overlap with the pig site had were 25, 005, and 28.
Yeah. So one of those you're discussing is the location of the farmer's market. We haven't had any pushback about that.
So far, the one letter that mentioned it said that the farmer's market had been looking for a new place already.
Yeah,
They found a new place.
they haven't, they're in the middle of those conversations, so.
I mean, that's just something to consider. That's
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
definitely a part of our downtown that we don't want to do.
Right.
Which would be the
The only
800
other
block, the east side of New Hampshire. I think that's 025.
The only other thing I noticed is the Parks and Rec staff were concerned about the community building parking lot.
Yeah.
As a writer, that seems too far south.
It is at the end of this, so I mean. Yeah.
So were there any other sites that Eddie, you were kind of going through your
What
list?
Yeah, the last one, it was one of the picks we had in the beginning, which was, I still like the old Borders site, 010.
I don't know if that was.
That one is contested.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, I mean, all of them have at least a little bit of leaning no. Some of them don't, I think I've only seen one strong public comment against the Borders site, and it was in the vein of, this is too close to the neighborhood, but we also know that that is a transportation disadvantage zone.
But he's also the president for Elma, so he's speaking in that respect.
Yeah,
There was also concern about the cost of that building.
Yeah, because they don't think that the
Right.
owner would sell.
Well,
He's already been confirmed though. that
yeah,
he will sell it.
that's why it was in this.
Yeah, that's it.
Amount.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just don't have amounts for
Yeah,
that.
so it's probably good.
Yeah.
Well, I think something to consider for any of the sites that we would have to purchase or that the city would have to purchase, considering the last budget conversation, the last couple of months, I paid attention to it. They're hesitant to spend a lot of money. So I would ask that we consider not putting something up that might just get shot down right out the gate. Let's not set ourselves up for failure at the beginning. So maybe we want to take that Borders one off altogether. I know it's a nice one, but I agree with Mr. Shalinski in that it runs right up against the neighborhood. These other sites, there's at least a block or at least half a block in between them and the neighborhoods, the nearest residences.
okay, yep. That seems fair.
Excuse me, could you please repeat what the first one was that you all mentioned?
Site
Um,
28, no, you said site 25.
25, which is parking lot 8 on the east side of the 800 block of New Hampshire.
So were there,
That's where the farmer's market is.
Current farmer's market.
Right. But like we said, they're looking at moving and possibly have closer to the sites that Old West Lawrence has discussed as they don't want the transfer stuff, but that would be only one day event type thing, the farmer's market. So I think there's a bit of give with the neighborhood on that particular topic.
does anyone else have any sites they'd like to put on the table?
I have a quick comment for Adam. The chart you made, the green, yellow, red, yeah, that one's really helpful for me.
Yeah, and this followed our first discussion. It was me trying to sift through the discussion you all had, the written comments you had. And of course, we've received a lot since then.
Yeah.
So, this whole process has been trying to sift and shake and see what comes up concern wise.
So I'm hearing is there's 5 sites with 3 potentially that are the, I don't know if you're calling them preferred or what you're calling them, and alternates or just.
Sites to advance to the concept.
So we can,
phase.
the group can just advance all 5? Or do you want to advance 3?
Oh, up to the group. We wanted that flexibility. Difference in mindset about how we think the process will play out and what we'll continue to hear. Of course, more sites, a wider net gives an option in case unknown things come up. We have more backups. But if there's not 5 good sites that you actually are interested in ultimately living with, your least favorite one out of those 5, then we probably shouldn't advance them. So, I'll leave that to the group on. There's no requirement to forward 5. We just wanted that flexibility.
And none of those, well, they shouldn't be on the list. None of those are up for future development as far as downtown, because the city has that list.
Right, they're not
But-
part of
okay.
the 3 lots RFP process
Okay.
for parking lot
I
development.
didn't think so. If we advance any of the city parking lots, there will be quite a bit of pushback from downtown. I can just. But 4 of those are downtown parking lots, so.
Can I ask a clarifying question on the current transfer spot? I guess that I didn't realize until this group of slides came out that part of that could potentially be parking lot. I think it's parking lot number 2.
Oh, the corner lot.
Yeah.
Which is a small
I
lot.
just wanted to just touch base on that since that
You mean
was just not, I wasn't aware of that prior.
So to make the current site work, we're very constrained on the east side of the street with the building face of AT&T right up on the sidewalk. So when we think about adding things like restrooms or weather protection canopies for people to be out of the weather, we'd have to consider locating some of that in the parking lot. The actual bus bays, 1 or 2 of them might very well need to extend just west of the AT&T building. But you'll basically not have any room there on the sidewalk other than pedestrian throughway. You won't have any additional room for many, for much seating or wind protection or things like that. So this option, I think we'd have to see how the actual design shakes out on if the entire parking lot would be needed for those amenities. If there's any way to get automobiles in and out only from 8th Street. But at the front end, it's probably smart to consider the whole lot being part of the site until we learn a little more about what the design would look like.
So it's not necessarily that the lot itself would be like the entirety of the lot, as opposed to the on-street, the way that this is kind of drawn, it's got like the two little sticks sticking out and then
The operational intent of this would be to have all the bus bays adjacent to the roadway.
okay.
There's not room in that lot to pull a bus in and turn it around.
That's what I guess I
Or to circulate around a platform like we have here at Central Station, so that lot would purely be kind of a pedestrian plaza type space. With seating, weather protection,
Bathroom.
signage, bathrooms,
Security
booth, yeah.
Do a lot of your folks use that lot?
Not necessarily. Most of the senior center folks use the garage,
It's a very busy lot.
but it's very busy.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's always full.
It's also one of the ones that's really adjacent, but it is one of the smaller lots. I
Mhm.
mean, so if you are looking,
Awesome. You're right. As far
yeah, I
as,
mean, if you are discussing parking lots in this situation, that lot is, that one and then the one on there was one in the 900 block of Vermont. The one that is on the east side is pretty large, but the one that they were talking about near the Dare Center on the west side,
they're the same.
it's also, I don't know, is that big? And I guess that lot's a little bit bigger.
This one is unique, so we had, with some concerns about spacing and vehicle
Mhm.
movements, we got some preliminary, what they call
Mhm.
auto turn movement. Where they
Sure.
can show how a vehicle path would track through. In this instance, you would, see, I think there's whoops. You would locate one bay street adjacent
Mhm.
on Vermont, one bay street adjacent on 10th.
Okay.
And the auto turn does allow a bus to pull in here and out onto 10th.
So
And so you would sit 3 along kind of a curve. It
okay,
would
so
enter-
you, okay.
Only enter on Vermont and only exit on 10th. There'd be no movement in the opposite.
Well, and then you'd have one bus that's facing to the west on was that 10th Street?
10th.
Yeah, and then one facing south. Interesting, okay.
So that one can work because of the nature of it being on a corner. You can do
Yes.
only enter one, kind of a one-way
One-way.
path.
That doesn't necessarily work at the Vermont Street spot.
No, that lot's like,
It's a lot.
it's a smaller
smaller.
corner, yeah. It's a much smaller corner and it's probably the wrong direction, really.
Yeah, looking at near the current setup, we're trying to be cognizant of, we really would rather avoid operationally needing to bring buses east to west across Mass Street, except for 9th Street, because that's kind of a common way we travel there. I'm just thinking about raids and closures, and especially 8th Street, how often that block, the 100 block of 8th is closed between Mass and Hampshire.
Well,
Operationally depend on a bus headed west.
yeah,
That will be difficult.
and they do frequently close the half block from towards Vermont as well. Not as much, but it has been in the past, maybe, yeah. To the alley, so. Which effectively closes it all the way, but, so that is another concern.
The other consideration with this site, it's not that it can't be overcome, but the entrance and exit of that parking garage on Vermont we'll continue to create some real challenges with crossing,
Mhm.
trying to figure out a place for us to have a safe crosswalk. We've talked about, although I don't know how feasible it actually would be, to close automobile access to that garage from Vermont. People just enter and exit from Kentucky. Just to limit the extra movement in that area, but most of the movement in and out of that garage is from Vermont, so I don't know.
Being from Kentucky is weird.
So I'm not
It's
sure
got weird
that's
angles.
Difficult
I'm not
access,
sure
yeah,
it's gonna be a practical.
sure. Well, and you'd be creating more traffic going on to Kentucky, which would create more of an issue there, and you've got the crosswalk going over to the pool, which is an issue. So that's,
As is, yeah.
I mean, which is already a challenge, actually.
Yeah.
Blaine, are you asking for consideration of the 006?
I would ask for consideration of that. Yeah,
So that brings us to 6.
I guess we have to eliminate one if I added one.
Is 6 small enough that we could just automatically say we won't be able to have security staff?
That's quite, yeah, that's the question. But you're also considering the lot on the east side, which is a much larger lot.
It's much larger.
You're gonna, I mean,
Eddie, I would say I'm concerned about space. It's tough right now to say if what could fit or not fit. I mean, the security booth, you're probably talking about another building the size of one of the restrooms, like 10 by 10, something like that. So I don't know. I don't know in good faith if I could say one way or the other before some things are drawn up, if it could or couldn't fit.
That seems like such a critical piece. It's, yeah, it maybe seems like it's worth out of consideration.
I think it might be the smallest out of if we were to have it be the top 6, I think that would be the smallest one.
What does it look like if we add 006 to Emily's list? Is there one out of 25, 18, 26, 28, and 5 that we would want to replace with 6?
I might just add in here, trying to be representative of the city as well, not just the transit department, that I'll echo Megan's comment about the community building parking lot and Parks and Rec. Just isn't sure what they would do for folks trying to access the community building if that. So. I think with Hazlitt also that one is so much farther south than the other one.
Yeah, I kind of have to take that one. Getting to that as a pedestrian, you have to cross 11th Street and unless you cross at Mass Street.
Right, it's so weird.
11th's really busy coming from the west.
So
If we took out the community building and replaced it with 006, even though it's a little small, then we'd still have 5.
that gives us
Sorry.
26 or 28, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what I'm tracking so far is 25, 18, 26, 5, and 6.
Yes.
Other thoughts? Go ahead. Hazlitt.
I hear what Blaine. Yeah, big city parking lots and everything like that. But I was also kind of heartened in some of the owl comments to see folks like really pushing for the station to be more central. And so
I'm here as a representative of DLI. I'm here as, as a business owner, and I'm a firm believer that we need this in the downtown area. I have spoken to people that I think we have plenty of parking. I'm probably gonna get slayed for saying that. And a loss of some of this is, I think, necessary to advance transit in our city, in our community. So I do understand that. It's a tough conversation, and I'm just here knowing what I'm going to hear, and so just understanding that those larger lots that are adjacent to Massachusetts Street. So the number 5, yeah, both of the New Hampshire lots, I think, you know, that, and the east and west side, I think 006 is the least impactful, but, and also with the discussion of the Dare Center expansion, I know that's not part of our purview, so to speak, but that's, you know, in that same location, so I don't that's just kind of what I'm hearing, so.
Just for context for the group, I had different follow-up conversations with different organizations, so already talked through some of the fire med issues, and I think we've maybe moved out of that area, those concerns, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 or 6 deployments per day, headed south and west, so that's just a touch point for you all. And then did have a discussion with farmers market. I don't know that there's a clear timeline on that. I know they're waiting to hear back on a grant opportunity. Certainly working towards a change. I would be surprised if the timing aligned such that if lot number 8 on the east side of New Hampshire that currently is used by the farmers market, I'd be surprised if they had located, constructed, moved to a new spot and this project would be moving forward. So I think it's a reality that there would be displacement for a period of time. And that's something that for you all and for the community to consider with that particular option.
I mean, it's just obvious that all of these locations have some issues. There's no doubt.
So there's a perfect site would have chosen it.
Yeah, exactly. If there was already one, it would have been picked. So there's going to be impacts no matter which one is picked. I do believe that the impact on our residential neighborhoods is definitely something we have to consider.
So at this point, I think we've got 5 candidates. Are you ready to make a decision? Discussion? All right, I'd entertain a motion then to advance 25, 18, 26, 5, and 6.
Moved.
Okay, is there a second? Eddie made the motion and Lance, I think you made the second, okay. To advance sites 25, 18, 26, 5, and 6. Is there any additional discussion about the motion? And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Well, congratulations. I think our work is done.
For the sake of those online, I know lots of people use this process. Could you help by listing those out for me? I can highlight them on the shared screen just so we're
sure. So it's the motion was made and seconded and adopted to advance sites 25, 18, 26, 5, and 6.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear in the screen and just with some folks listening about what those mean.
Interesting how it all centered on those 5 and the 6. All right. Next item on our agenda, I believe, is to adjourn.
So good.
Right?
Can we, now we have to plan the block party. But you have all of our emails, you could send us reminders when the city commission meeting is gonna be. I would love to sell for as many as possible.
Yeah, and we'll have, so I can absolutely send this group, we'll do a press release as well as we have, signal the end of this group's work and their scope and what the next step is, especially once we have a firm date, I think. If I can get my ducks in a row by Friday, then October 8th is a feasible date for the scope of work commission.
All right. Megan made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Eddie, is that yours? Megan already motioned.
I'll second.
All right, I second it. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
I.
Opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. We're adjourned. Thank you for your work.